All right, as you know, the Minding Your Business podcast is brought to you every Friday with new episodes powered by the Binge podcast network. That's www.onabinge.com, www.onabinge.com. Working that with my good brother and partner, Mr. Dominic Lawson, who is the host of the Startup Life podcast that you can find on all the major podcast networks, as well as him and his outstanding wife, Kenda, are the owners of Owls LLC. And so we're working with On a Binge. We've got already a lineup of great podcasters. We're looking for more content creators, whether you're a new podcaster or you have an existing podcast. We want to be able to work together and help you grow your audience. And we're already doing that with our lineup. So we're looking for you. Contact me at ron@themybpodcast.com is the email address, or you can go to, again, onabinge.com to check out the Binge Podcast Network. We're always brought to you by Brooks Brothers Consulting. Me and my brother Philip started Brooks Brothers Consulting in June of 2013, and we are a sales and business development consulting firm. We work with small businesses as well as financial institutions. I'm actually going to be going up first week in December. I'm going up to Pittsburgh, and then I'm going to come back through the Philadelphia area. So I'm going to be through the whole state of Pennsylvania in the first week of December, working with banks, several that I've already got scheduled. I'm looking forward to meeting with them. And so that's what we do. If you're starting your business or you've been in business for some time and you're looking at how you can innovate and progress with your ideas around how you're going to get your business out there and develop transactions, develop sales, and ultimately build relationships through those transactions, then we're the people that you want to get with. 901-808-3801 is that number, 901-808-3801. That's brooksbrothersconsulting.com is the move that you need to make. Listen, today, Friday after Thanksgiving, November 23rd, 2018, we're at episode 71 of the Minding Your Business podcast. Let's get it.
What we do here is go back.
Yeah. Thank y'all so much for joining in. Everybody that's listening to the recorded podcast, thank you so much. Those that are live on Spreaker.com. Of course, I'm lit today for a number of different reasons. I'm excited about episode 71, the call center. That's what we're going to talk about today. I've got an idea that I want to share with you all. I've had a chance to talk to some people at different levels about it. I've got experience in the area, and so I want to share my idea and get some thoughts and some feedback. I've got the family here on Facebook Live. What's up, Tim, Patricia, Gerald? What's going on? Chris, how you doing? What's going on? Let's see, who else do we got? Oh, I already said hey to Cassie. So anyway, thank y'all for joining episode 71. Let's see. Chris Moore says, I've thought about this before. Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on this, Chris. So definitely looking forward to that. Zane, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Gerald Jones, what's going on? How y'all doing? What's going on? Hey, listen, hold on 1 second. Let me grab. Y'all can hear Boss in the background, White. So before we get started, he wants to jump in. I guess he got something to say. So let me grab him real quick. All right, MYB. So as y'all know, Boss has been part of this show sometimes. So I guess he wants to jump in and do his thing. So, Boss, say what's up to the peoples. If you can jump in here. Let's see. Since you want to jump in and make a whole bunch of noise, I'm going to let you jump in with the Facebook crowd. Say what's up, Boss. You good? You gonna let us do our thing? Here. You can stay in here. But you're going to have to either be quiet or be part of the segment. All right. All right, folks. So y'all know, and I don't do no editing. You know this is all on the fly. We do real stuff here at the Mind Your Business podcast, so I'm not going to edit that out. It's all good. Marvin Hassel, what's going on, brother? Ms. Booth, what's going on? So, thank y'all for joining. Today is Friday, November the 23rd. I'm your host, Champ Ron. This is the Mind Your Business podcast. I've got my boy Boss here. We're working from home today. Didn't go into the office. We've got our Facebook Live crowd, man. Shout out to everybody there. And hope that you had a lovely time on yesterday for those that decided to get together. No matter what your thoughts are on yesterday, I've got my thoughts. You probably have yours. But nonetheless, if you chose to spend that time with family, friends, and loved ones and whatnot, I certainly did and had a great time. And I hope that that you did too. So Dominic Lawson says he's here with James Bernard and Jamel with the Racially Motivated podcast. They do a phenomenal job. I appreciate Dominic working with them. And they are part of the Binge Podcast Network growing family, which I'm definitely excited about. So let's get into today because we've got a few different things that I want to present. And then we're going to go first through Ron's rundown. And I'm going to go through some headlines, topics, local and national from this week. So let's get through that first. And we're going to get through that first, even as it starts to rain here in Memphis. And you've got some other activities going on all around the city and then around the country on what's called Black Friday. I guess that's what y'all want to call it. So shout out Marvin Hassel. What up, big time? Happy Thanksgiving to you and the family. Yeah, same to you, brother. Same to you, man. My guy Marvin down in Dallas, Texas. Long time, brother, man. Go back probably a little longer than I'd like to admit. Show our age, man. But anyway, let's get into Ron's rundown. So number one, of course, like my brother just said, with Thanksgiving. Yesterday, of course, was Thanksgiving. Again, I hope that you all enjoyed it. Hope that you spend time with your family and friends. For those that have had family and loved ones and friends transition, whether it's this year, whether it's in years past, definitely heart goes out to those folks. For those that are dealing with issues, health issues and whatnot, issues with family, issues with friends, issues with their careers. Shout out to all those folks. You just never know who's going through different things. And sometimes the holidays can be a stark reminder for us all that people are going through different things. Not that they're not throughout the whole year. The holidays just tend to bring out sometimes different things and different emotions. And you want to be understanding of that to the extent that you can be. So hope everybody, again, enjoyed it yesterday. For me, I did very good. I actually worked out yesterday. I was very good with my eating. I did not overindulge. We had really good food. Shout out to my brother Philip and his new lovely wife, Kelly, who hosted yesterday for the family for the first time. And we just had a ball. It was a great time, great day. So shout out to everybody for that. Of course, today is Black Friday. Tomorrow, Small Business Saturday. So govern yourselves accordingly with that. So that's number two. Hopefully you don't have to wait till tomorrow for Small Business Saturday. You can go ahead and be shopping. Here on Facebook Live, there are plenty of people that you can do business with on my Facebook that's participating here with the podcast. And hopefully you decide to patronize some of the folks that you interact with all the time, whether it's on your timelines or just out in the streets or whatnot, your friends and family that have businesses. Hopefully you give them great consideration before you go running out to all the big box stores, if that's what you choose to do. I'm not a big shopper. We're not big shoppers here, even though with the girls, we are a little different, a little unorthodox when it comes to this time of the year. And we developed that over time. We weren't always like that. So number three, get into some national stuff. So Ivanka Trump has pulled her Hillary Clinton stunt. And now she's in hot water for her emails, which is a little ironic considering her dad, who is the 45th and current president of the United States, Mr. Donald J. Trump, spent his whole campaign going after Hillary Clinton for using her email address inappropriately, or who someone said was inappropriate. And so now his daughter, 37-year-old Ivanka Trump, business owner and whatnot, now she's been accused of using her email the same way. So it'll be interesting to see, take the politics out of it, no matter what side that you're on. It'll be interesting to see the further responses from the president, as well as the responses from everybody around on how they compare and contrast the two. I haven't read into it a ton to really know, but it looks to be a lot of the same thing. So it's going to be very ironic to see what the president refers to it when it's his daughter, as opposed to when it's a political foe. In the movies, you've got Ralph Breaks the Internet jumping out. It's a Disney movie. Creed 2 is out. I think that came out yesterday. Some people have said it's phenomenal. I'm going to go see it probably today or tomorrow. So check that out. And then one of the bombs from, I guess this time, was Robin Hood. They're saying that it's not doing that well. I don't even know. I think Jamie Foxx or somebody was in it. I think it's supposed to be more like a modern day Robin Hood. So I don't know. If you want to go check it out, go do so, or any of those. So number 5, a couple in Mandeville, Louisiana, found a $1.8 million lottery ticket while cleaning house for Thanksgiving. You talk about getting your holidays started off. Imagine finding a $1.8 million lottery ticket just lying around the house while you're cleaning up for Thanksgiving. So this couple found out they're actually going to retire. They're collecting, I think, $1.2 million after state and local taxes, maybe even federal taxes too. I have to be federal taxes. So after all of this couple who found this just lying around, looked at the numbers. Oh, hell, we won. And they're taking home after taxes and everything $1.2 million. So shout out to them. I know I've got family down, maybe near Mandeville, Louisiana. So I may have to see. Some of y'all may need to check and see if you got peoples down there. Number 6, you had Mike Espy and Cindy Hyde-Smith down in Mississippi for the Senate runoff. I think is next week, November the 27th, I think is election day, whatever next Tuesday is. So they're having a runoff between Mike Espy and Cindy Hyde-Smith this week. I think right before Thanksgiving, they did a debate. They debated between each other, and that was very, very good. And so that was part of what was going on. Number 7, the fairgrounds. So here locally, the TDZ, the Tennessee Development Zone, approved $161 million for the fairgrounds area. It's about 22 acres, which is over, for those that are familiar with Memphis, East Parkway, Southern, Central, that whole area over there. They're looking to spend some money in some phases. I hope to have our friend of the podcast, Mr. Paul Young, on here at some point so we could discuss some of that. And he and I have already had a chance to engage. Paul was on the show about a year ago, and we talked some about the fairgrounds project. But they're looking to bring some retail. I think a youth sports facility is going to go there. One of my concerns was always how it was going to tie to my home, the Orange Mound area, historic Orange Mound high school building that's been dilapidated for some years that they're looking to try to revive, and what all that means from a gentrification standpoint and how people can be involved in that without it being a gentrified situation. So I'm going to be heavily involved and keep my eyes out on that as that project goes along. But $161 million was approved on this week, or announced that it was approved. Number 8, the city council was in a stalemate this week. They're having to bring on or appoint someone to take over for District 1 here in Memphis, the city council district number 1. These folks were in session on Tuesday. I think it went overnight. They couldn't really decide, and that was a big thing here in the city, speaking to some of the division between different sides of the city council. One of the great things about with the city council is that, like everything, it evolves. And next year, I think pretty much every seat is up on the city council, every seat. So watch out for that, and watch out as you see a movement of some newer candidates get involved with the city council and whatnot. Just like you saw this year with some phenomenal black women who were able to get into office on this year and are looking and already impacting change and being agents for change and evolution here in this city and then beyond into the state and beyond that. So number 9, the Racket Club over in East Memphis is closing. So after decades of having the Racket Club in prime Memphis real estate in the Poplar Corridor, it is closing. I think they're looking to put some different mixed-use projects are being considered for where the Racket Club sits over on Sanderland near White Station, between White Station and Mendenhall. From a sports standpoint, listen, already on Thanksgiving Day, the Memphis Grizzlies were number 1 in the Western Conference in the NBA. Now, I wonder if anybody in Memphis ever been able to say that, but it's true. They were the number 1 seed. So if the playoffs started today, the Memphis Grizzlies would be the number 1 seed and would play the Houston Rockets in the NBA playoffs. So, hey, if they continue that, look for JB Bickerstaff to be coaching the All-Star game, and look for Mark Gasol and Mike Conley to play in the All-Star game, and Jaren Jackson Jr. to be in the rookie game, and look for the Grizz to get some accolades if they could keep that up. Here's hoping that they can. I'm not the biggest Grizzlies fan. I support them from the hometown team. My Lakers are starting to do some things as LeBron is putting foot to ass over in L.A. Let's see, the Tigers yesterday. So Penny took ownership of the loss to Oklahoma State in the tournament yesterday, 84-64. I'm not sure when the next game is coming up for them, but I liked a lot of what Penny had to say. Penny's roster's flawed, as he knows. He's small, so he can't go small ball. He's going to have to put a big out there, and they're going to have to defend, or he's got to sit him on the bench. That's just the way that works. So, but Penny's getting ready for next year, because this week he was able to sign the number 1 high school prospect in the country, who is one James Wiseman out of East High School, who Penny's got some ties to, going back to coaching him in recent years and whatnot. So James Wiseman, shout out to him. Welcome to the University of Memphis, and we look forward to his contributions as well as the rest of Penny's recruiting class on next season. So they just got to get through this season, y'all, and then you'll see the Tigers really jump up. Certainly on next year, but shout out to this year's team. They're going to rebound, hopefully, from that loss, and this is going to be a great season as well. Tiger football is playing right now. I think they're playing University of Houston for the right to play in the AAC Conference Championship game. So hopefully you get a chance to tune in, or after you get done listening to the podcast, you can go and catch up on your DVR. So anyway, that is Ron's rundown for Friday, November the 23rd. We've had some more people join on Facebook Live. What's up, Lindsay Nicole? Will, what's going on? Bill Stemler. Gene, what's going on? How you doing? Hall, what's up? Crenshaw, what's going on? Leslie Jordan, how you doing, girl? Gerald, how you doing? Sonia said, you preaching, brother. Yeah, I was just talking about the first subject in Ron's rundown in terms of people for the holidays. So anyway, that's Ron's rundown. Let's get into today's topic quickly, which is, and again, episode 71, the call center. My background, as I've shared on this podcast a few different times, I've got a background in mostly banking, business development, sales, and the management all the way up to the executive level of such. I've had the opportunity on a few different occasions to work in the call center field. One, I've had in my retail section of banking, I've had the opportunity to actually manage a call center. And then I've been involved in it from a business development standpoint with a company here that's based here called ServiceMaster, where I worked significantly with the call center channel, particularly with the American Home Shield side. So I've got some call center experience in terms of from the development piece of it. And I've spent some time in call centers, not just around here in Memphis, but I've had the opportunity to travel around the country a few years ago to train call center reps on various sales techniques and strategies and tactics and things like that. And I've always been intrigued with the call center channel on a number of different fronts. But I was thinking the other day, and you know that on this podcast we've talked about Amazon having their other headquarters, and they've settled now on New York City and the DMV, DC. And so, I'm thinking about that, and I'm looking at the city of Memphis, and obviously I think it goes without saying, without even being negative, just being truthful, that Memphis did not quite have everything it needed to attract someone like Amazon for their second headquarters. But a lot of cities, can't say that either. A lot of cities didn't have the attraction when it came to being able to attract Amazon. So there's nothing to hang your head down with or anything like that. But I thought about with Memphis. And I think Memphis is, I don't know if they've tried this before. I know there's been call centers here. There's a few things that I think that Memphis can do that could attract the call center industry here. Think about it. Most of your major companies have some sort of sizable call center platform. I mean, just go through them. The cell phone companies, many of your service industry companies, just about any kind of sales platform has some sort of service and or sales divisions within their call center. When I mentioned I was at Service Master on the American Home Shield side, not only do they have sales and service, they've got retention, they've got all kinds of different areas, dispatch and whatnot that are within the call center channel. And those are going to continue to grow. A lot of these call centers, some are located where the actual company is headquartered. Some of these call centers are located in rural areas all around the country and whatnot. Without getting to all the stats and statistics and all that, because I don't want to run the podcast that long, but just from a high level idea, y'all, I want to explore the thought of the city of Memphis attracting call centers and call center platforms to the city. A couple things that I learned, and I'm speaking from my experience. I put together all the stats. I've got the stats and all that. And I could bore you with all that, but hear me out on the idea. So so if you look at the type of work, call centers are open sometimes normal 9 to 5 at business hours, some all the way up to 24/7, 365, just like how Service Master, their call center is. One of the things that I always noticed in call centers here in Memphis or traveling around is that there was always a mixture or a myriad of talent. So I've always seen call centers as talent hubs for people, whether they're young in their career and they're just kind of starting out. So there's kind of an entry level opportunity that comes with the call center, all the way up to extremely experienced people making really good money, who have, some cases stair-stepped their way through the call center channel, or maybe they're coming from another industry into it. But so you always see that. So I always see that as, a particular, really good opportunity. Two, the call center channel, and many may not realize this, there is a lot of technology that goes into the call center. So they're no longer sitting with rotary phones, like they were in decades past. Just like your phone at home for most of you, you use some kind of digital platform, just like your cell phone. Even if you do have a landline, it's digital now for the most part. And so there's a lot of technology then that goes into the use of the computer, the use of headsets, the use of the software technology that it takes to run a call center, to run different line queues, and to have different promotional opportunities that are recorded on when people are holding and things like that, offering surveys. All those things are different levels of technology that the end user employee has to use. the company has to be able to utilize, and then the customer ultimately that has access to how calls are routed and things like that. So there's a technology piece to what I'm presenting that is very intriguing, because within the call center, there's always going to be this innovative development, and you've got to be on the cutting edge on how you're utilizing certain cloud systems and certain servers and things like that to be able to collect information, collect data, hold it, and then be able to be efficient with how you ultimately the end user employee interacts with a customer or a prospect. So that's number 2. Number 3, from a blight standpoint. So Memphis, like many urban cities, has a lot of empty warehouse buildings and former distribution hubs. We've got a ton of them around the airport, in the more established parts of our city, North and South Memphis. There's a lot of these empty where companies have left and left real estate sitting there to essentially rot. Those owners of that real estate a lot of times are out of town, so they may not have the same affinity for the area and for the real estate. And there's not a lot of people out looking for 150,000 square feet warehouses in Memphis. There are a few, of course, but a lot of them sit and rot. And most of those warehouses are built with really good infrastructure in terms of most of them are steel and brick. There's usually not a lot of wood in a warehouse. It's mostly concrete, steel and brick. So for the most part, they tend to hold up really well. So my thought is there a way for the city of Memphis to attract these call centers through a level or a series of incentives that they bring typically reasonably paying jobs. Now listen, I know that some of the existing call centers and there's some things like that are here in Memphis and around that don't pay the best wage and whatnot. And there's a lot of accountability that has to come from that. From the people, from the politics side of it, and all around. But my thing would be going back to my experience, y'all. I implemented at one of my stops back in 2015. We began hiring call center reps at a minimum of $15 an hour. That was the minimum. So that doesn't mean that that's what everybody got. We pay people above that as well, but we want to make sure that we gave people a good start and that people had the opportunity to then progress and be able to, if they showed and proved, right, they had an opportunity to then go to the next level and be promoted and whatnot. So my thing would be is to attract the call centers that would have, good salary wage opportunities and offer the type of training and development such that there's new opportunities for promotional pieces. So that's part of the deal as well. So those are kind of 3 areas that I'm looking at when it comes to the call center piece. Okay. What up, D Barry? What's going on? Shout out some of the folks joining on Facebook Live. Jamel, what's up? Cousin Tawana, what's going on? South Carolina. Kiana Cox, what's going on? Julius Harris, what's up? Scott Kinney, what's going on, brother? Orlandis, Katrina Upshaw, how you doing? So if you're on Facebook Live and you happen to have comments on this, if you happen to have some insight from the call center standpoint, make sure that you hit me up, share your comments on here. I'd love to be able to hear some of your thoughts, agree, disagree, whatever that is. So, definitely do that. So those are the 3 areas that I look to. So I think that there's a great opportunity. So one thing that I think has led me to come up with this idea is I think the natural talent pool here in Memphis fits very well with the talent that's needed for the call center. So I think that there's a nice fit. So one of the things that was a challenge with Amazon is they're looking for a certain level of talent, right? And that talent may not exist in Memphis or in your city as it's currently constructed today. That's just a fact. All right. So at the end of the day, you have to look at what you've got to offer, especially if you're looking in the short term and to the long term. So, that's, nonetheless, that's how, that can work. So I think that Memphis has the right level of current talent today to be able to attract a call center. When you look at the job descriptions and you look at the educational attainment and things like that, I think that Memphis is attractive to that. And I think Memphis also has the real estate infrastructure and the land available for those call centers to be able to come and either build their own facilities and or convert some of these existing facilities to their specifications to be able to help edify and eliminate blight. Because as you go into these neighborhoods and you start renovating these warehouses and things like that, and you start bringing these populations of people, all of a sudden now a call center comes and they've got anywhere from 100 to 1,000 to 1,500 people all of a sudden that are needing to be hired there or that they're bringing there from other areas. And the idea would be is that then there's an accountability factor from the people that ensures that they hire from within not just the city, but even within that area that they're going to be located. A certain percentage of people that are qualified people are then hired and allowed to be part of that process. Because if you think of the infrastructure of the call center, you generally got the call center rep, sales service, dispatch, whatever. You generally have some level of supervisors. You got team leads. You got managers. You've got senior managers. You got VPs, all the way up to the executive level. So there's a lot of different layers of opportunity, along with the different divisions with a lot of, particularly the larger call centers. And one thing that I haven't mentioned is the call centers that aren't necessarily tied to a specific company, but that work with businesses. So a lot of businesses outsource to a number of different call center companies where they outsource this, and those reps are then able to answer the phone and operate as if they're your business, but you really have it outsourced. Okay? So Antoinette Miller says, call center employees have an expectation of verbal comprehension and a command of the language. Memphis, along with other local cities, have an educational gap that does not lend towards success in this area. We need to strengthen the communication skills, reading and verbal, in our youth and adults. So, Antoinette, I agree with that, although I would say that in my experience, because, again, when you're talking about hiring from a pool of people, you're not going to be able to just hire everybody that can't walk and chew gum and can't speak, and can't use the language to some kind of moderate efficiency. So no, there's not going to be anything that's going to be able to hire every single person, right? What you want to do is give everybody a fair opportunity. And I think the call center channel, more so than a lot of different channels, gives a fair opportunity for the local talent as it's constituted today. And I agree with Antoinette in terms of for as you look at today going forward, one of the things that call centers are always big on is training. Every call center that I've been around, again, I was part of as a third-party vendor that would come in and do training. So whereas a lot of industries are not as open, they're not as innovative in their training and development of their talent, most call centers are, because as you're changing and upgrading the technology, the people then have to keep up with it, and the company has to invest in the people. And so that's the only way it works. So I agree with Antoinette in terms of what she's sharing, in terms of, there being a educational gap. And that's true, particularly when you talk about the city of Memphis in general. However, I'm of the mindset that the call center allows for entry-level opportunities that I think a lot of people will meet those qualifications. And then it's just about the training on some of the soft skills in terms of work ethic and being on time, and being career focused. All those things are kind of soft skills that have to be cascaded down as you look at training and development coming along. So one of the areas that I think the call center then does is no different than what we do today. Like most of the education piece now, and somewhat to Antoinette's point, is centered around warehouse and distribution, right? Because that's what's prevalent here. If you make the call center prevalent here, then a lot of the cascading training that goes into that allows for the call center and then the educational system to hopefully be bridged together, so that there's a training and development. And then from the call center training and development, that can spur into so many other areas. Because when you get the development training around how to, be able to speak well, be able to, move on your toes, use technology, your computer, your phone, your headset, those type of things, work within a team environment. Those are skills that, again, tie into some of the soft skills and, hard skills that allow people to progress, particularly our youth, even beyond the call center channel. That's different than being somewhere and, it's all physical, where you put this uniform on and they tell you, pick this box up, put it on the conveyor belt, let it go, pick this box. So that monotonous type of labor, the call center is different, because the call center is different every day. For people that understand the call center channel, every day is a different adventure, because the technology is constantly changing. The people are constantly changing. Different people call in every day with different issues, whether they're looking to make purchases, whether they're having an issue with something, they need something dispatched, they have a complaint, they have attaboy, whatever that is. The call center every day offers a different opportunity. So it's free flowing. It's dynamic. It's not static. What up, Sam Upshaw? What's going on? Up Lawn Care. Antoinette says, not to say we don't have the talent overall, but there is a great opportunity to expand this area. Tech training is a must in every industry, especially the call center environment. The soft skills are where I think Memphis needs to be more competitive. Now, I agree with Antoinette there. And Antoinette, by the way, is qualified to speak on this, because she does, here in Memphis and around the country, she does and is a leader in tech innovation and tech training herself, Greg Bernard with Data Maxim and others. So she's definitely more than well qualified to speak on this, Antoinette. So thank you so much, Antoinette, here on my Facebook Live. So yeah, I agree that there is, in a gross generalization now, because I'm not speaking with statistics right now. I'm speaking from a high level idea standpoint, y'all. There is, in my opinion, there's a lot of overlapping skill set here in Memphis that will work well with the call center channel. Yes, there are gaps in terms of some of the soft skills and things like that. Those just take time. No different than whatever your prevalent industry is. If your platform for education matches that, then it tends to evolve and catch up. So just like we have, when the labor market is mostly service and warehouse and distribution, then the educational system a lot of times tends to fit that, right? And so people are trained from a very young age, skill sets that then allow for them to pipeline into this area. I'm not interested in so much having a call center mecca here for people to solely go into the call center channel. My deal is short and long term that people can consider that channel, and the skills you gain from that channel are replicable and marketable, which warehouse and distribution jobs at the entry level are not, when you're just tossing boxes around. That doesn't allow for you to then go off and do other things. If you become very good in the call center space, even from the entry level, because it takes a special person. I know I couldn't do it. I'll tell y'all a quick story. When I was in high school, I can't even remember the damn company. I worked for a week in a call center as a call center rep. I could not do it, right? Not that I can't talk on the phone, and all that kind of thing. I'm not big on talking on. I don't like talking on the phone all damn day, right? And I don't like sitting in one place all day. That's difficult for me to do. And I found that, man, I quit after a week because it didn't fit me. I'm on the move too much. I can't sit still like that. I was constantly getting up, moving around because I couldn't sit still long enough to just be taking call after call. Now, that was in 1998, 99. I know things obviously have innovated 20 years later, but it was difficult for me. But for a lot of people, that's a great environment. In an office environment where they're able to interact and socialize and connect. And then when I talked about the blight standpoint, it allows for not just these corporate communities of rows of cubicles with people with phones and stuff, but a lot of the best call centers that I've seen have created whole communities out of the call center where there's been mixed use residential around it, retail and gardens and things for people. Because the call centers can be monotonous work, right? And so if you've got green space and you've got a cafeteria and you've got if you look at Service Masters, they have that, and some of the larger, more progressive call centers, they have that. And so what I'm suggesting is that, again, you have to kind of cherry pick the right ones. You can't just be, everybody just comes and you just prostitute yourself out. But what you got to do is you've got to be able to have and attract the type of call centers that bring the type of higher wage positions and that are dynamic enough that allow people to then be able to build their career. Right? And in doing that, I think that Memphis could be attractive for that. Listen, geographically, Memphis is great. Now, I know it's not the easiest to fly in and out of because Memphis is no longer a hub and hasn't been for some years. But if you look at the existing distribution channel that's here, if you look at the location, Memphis from a weather standpoint is... I went to, some call centers in Iowa, and, like rural and that kind of thing, where they're dealing with snow all the time and ice and, all that type of stuff. Memphis, doesn't have it. It's got its share of that, but it's very minimal and it's very short term. And I think Memphis can offer the type of incentives, not just pilots, although pilots have to be part of it. That's just part of the game, that you have to play. But I think there's other incentives that could be offered that would attract someone that would split their call center off and locate it in Memphis, or if that's their HQ and they're solely a call center company, that they could locate here, right, and then hire. But there's got to be an accountability to that. It can't just be... we just have them come and like we've done with a lot of companies here is we give them a pilot, they come, and then a year later they're filing bankruptcy or they leave and leave the city holding the bag. And there's been some examples of that. And there's circumstances that lead to that too, but there's got to be a joint effort between the entire community to hold people accountable to when they say they're going to come here and hire X percentage of people here in the city, they're going to train, they're going to be fiduciary partners, which I'll talk about here in a second, and they're going to invest in the infrastructure, then they've got to be held accountable. And if they don't, those incentives go away and they can take their ass on somewhere, right? So that's what it's about, okay? I just spoke about the fiduciary part. So one of the things that happens too when you get a significant number of people, a significant number of Memphians in higher wage opportunities, particularly in the call center, is the call center is a coverage kind of deal. So what that does is allows more people to work one sole job. So you don't have your low to moderate income people always having to work 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet. This allows them to be more involved in what their kids are doing, right? For kids, you can work in the call center basically from the age of 18. I mean, once you're past the age of consent, you could essentially work in the call center. So at the college level, late high school, college level, those people, when they're first becoming into their adulthood, they can go work in the call center. Altogether, those people become fiduciary because then the call center can be a fiduciary partner in the community in terms of how they support other nonprofits, how they support the community and whatnot. And so can the employee base. They can go and participate in different things because the coverage is different, right? It allows for people to be able to go do that. So all these things come into play, y'all, as part of my idea that I think that they're incentives. Now you say, well, what are those incentives that the city could offer? There's a number of different things. So there's always the tax piece of it, and that all filters into the pilot. It could be, their ability to acquire the real estate. It could be there's some kind of subsidy around the expense of relocating, the expense of hiring, where salaries maybe for the first year or so are subsidized to a certain percentage. And again, all that math has to be done. All that has to be vetted, right? Again, I'm talking from a high level. So that's my thought on the call center channel. And I think it can, at least in my opinion, on the surface, and I'd love to hear some other thoughts even other than Antoinette. So if you're on Facebook Live and you want to share your opinions on that idea, whether you like it, whether you think, or whether you hate it and you think there's no way it'll work. Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Someone other than Antoinette. Or Antoinette, if you've got continuing thoughts, you can continue to do that as well and share your thoughts. But Greg says, with technology, call centers can be decentralized. Yes. And what that does, Greg brings up a good point. I spoke with Greg Bernard with Data Maxim. Thank you, Greg, for that comment on Facebook Live. I agree with Greg that with the advent of technology further into the call center channel, call centers could be decentralized. What that means is that the call center doesn't have to be this huge hub with 1,000 and 2,000 people. As y'all have seen, the call center channel, even over the last 5 or 6 years with technology, has allowed people to work from home and be able to be online and part of the call center channel without being in this population, right? It allows people to work from home. That's what Greg just said. People can work from home or wherever they feel comfortable. So people can work from home. They can work from their own office, or maybe 5 or 6 of them get together and get in an office and work together, right? They can work from a co-working place. So the technology then allows them, as Greg said, to be decentralized. That's another value proposition that I think some of these companies, they may not quite be there, but that's something else that could be offered, would be the opportunity for it to decentralize. There's benefits to the company. There's cons to the company as well for doing that. And we don't have the time today to get into all the pros and cons, but there are some pros to the companies doing that in terms of reduction of some of their expenses, reduction in the amount of real estate that they have to have on site, because they could have it such that people can rotate and be able to come and just plug in to a desk and not have it assigned to where they have to have cubicles for every single person. Some people can work from home and telecommute. And there's benefits to telecommuting. There's some cons, of course. You don't get quite the socialization and things like that. Having meetings sometimes can be a challenge when you've got people scattered all over the place. But those logistics can be worked through, right? So those are cons that have mitigants, right? But no, Greg's exactly right. The technology allows for further innovation that can reduce cost and decentralize the call center. So it's definitely doable, Greg. I agree. Yeah, so it's doable and something that we should look to. So anyway, that's part of my idea in terms of how that can work for Memphis. I think it could work in other cities as well. But I definitely think it works extremely well in the city of Memphis, and I would love to continue this conversation to get into and share some of the statistics around the current Memphis workforce, its skill set, like Antoinette talked about, and how then from a city budget standpoint, maybe even working with the county, can then create an opportunity for these call centers to then be a part and look to Memphis as a place that they can locate, that they can, find and develop talent. And Memphis being where it is geographically is about an 8-hour drive from a lot of major cities. From Memphis, you can drive to Houston, Texas. You can drive to New Orleans. You can drive to Atlanta. You can drive to Birmingham, Alabama. You can drive to Nashville, St. Louis, Indianapolis, Chicago. Kansas City, I think you can probably get there. Oklahoma City. You can get to the East Coast pretty easily. You can get up to the Midwest. You may have a little bit of less options going out west, other than getting to Phoenix and Las Vegas and LA and San Francisco, outside the major cities. But you still have pretty good distribution here, and then you've got a huge benefit in leveraging FedEx and AutoZone and some of the companies that are located here and that you'll be really close to. So again, if you have thoughts on this particular idea, listen, y'all, I'd love to be able to hear them. You can inbox me on Facebook. I'm on there as Ron Brooks. You can email me, Ron at themybpodcast.com. That's Ron at themybpodcast.com. You can also check out the podcast. Make sure you subscribe and share and listen at www.themybpodcast.com, as well as all the major platforms that you listen to the podcast and whatnot. So I hope this has been informative for you. I hope maybe I've sparked some other ideas, maybe some future conversation. And that's what we want this to be. I want to be able to spark some thought around some different things that we can help edify Memphis and then other urban cities. So we can sit around all day and talk about every problem and every issue and every setback and every pessimistic thought and whatnot. But it's only going to get better when the people decide that they want better. And we've got to be able to talk through the ideas, not about who's going to get credit for it and all that. I'm not looking for credit. I'm just looking to further the dialogue and hopefully be a part of the change that can take place. And maybe the call center channel is one area that can happen. So Brandon McCarley, what's going on? How you doing? Nita, what's going on? Thurston, how you doing? Deverett Watson, what's going on? Credible Concepts. Andrea Jones, what's up? Miss Cox, how you doing? Irene, what's going on? So, hey, listen, I'm up on my time, y'all. Champ Ron, the Minding Your Business podcast. Episode 71 is a wrap. Greg Bernard wraps us up with a rising tide lifts all boats. That's right, baby. That's right. A rising tide lifts all boats. That's what we're looking to do. So, Sonia says, great info, great ideas, Ron. You're already part of the change. Thank you, Sonia. I really appreciate that. Appreciate those kind words. And yes, I just want to be part of the change. And anybody that's interested in furthering this discussion, hit me up. I'd love to be able to do so, talk through some of the good, bad, and uglies of it, and possibly how we can make that happen. There's a lot of things. Change comes sometimes from just small ideas, and a few people get together, and boom, there you go. You got something going. So anyway, listen, I'm going to get out of here. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy this weekend. And then everybody's going to be back at it on next week. So don't eat too much. I know y'all got them leftovers and whatnot. So try not to eat too much. Try to get out and enjoy if the weather's going to be good where you are. And hug your family and love on your loved ones. We only get so much time around here and in this hotel that we call life. So if people check in, check out all the time, and it's all going to be about what you do while you stay. All right, Champ Ron, the Minding Your Business podcast. Y'all go and be great.